right, let's see if we are up and running. Give us a second here to check our channel. We'll see if we are coming through, and then we'll get to work here for a little bit. I'm showing a please wait plate. So I am hoping that is going to process through here promptly for us to proceed. Hit refresh. And all right. Looks like we're live. And all right. Sounds good. Okay, cool. So, hey folks, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games, I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And I have, I've been running Dungeons and Dragons campaigns since 1987. I've been using Eberron as my home campaign world since 2006 when it was introduced in 3rd edition. And I've been creating content on the DMsGuild since 2017. So I am now at a point where I want to publish. This will be the first adventure that I'm publishing. You can see it here on the screen, the book cover, Crystals in a Bar. It takes place in the Eberron campaign setting. So basically your 4 to 5 characters of level 7, for 4 to 5 characters level 7 and 8. There you go. And when you punch through this thing, depending on how much content you use, you can start beginning at 7th level and get through level 8 to level 9, or you could start it off as a one-shot just for kicks and giggles. Otherwise, the hold on, I'm gonna copy and paste here real quick. There, and I didn't set up anything like I normally would. So I'm digging my way through the social medias here real quick. So hold on real fast, and then we'll get to work here for a couple hours. So clickety here, self promo, clickety, and then here we go to clickety. I'm almost done. So we've been building maps and tokens and all the good stuff that goes along with all of that business. Here's my last social media click. There we go. And then we will drop that out of the way. Here we go with today's session. I'm on the Twitter X platform at Phil Kearney. You can catch me there if you're interested. Like, subscribe, bell icon, notifications. Get notification when I'm live in the future. We're at episode 287 right now. Here's the full playlist. So what are we doing? Well, like I said, we're making we're making an adventure. All the maps are done. The past 200 some odd episodes. The past 286. This one as well. 87 episodes. You can watch. We've created all of the maps and all the token, NPC, and monster assets for the adventure here on stream. I am really close to being done with the actual text of the adventure. And then once we have edits resolving that, we will start on the we'll start in on the page layout and design work. So I got a timer going. I got some water. I got some coffee, and I am going to keep attacking these trees. So what's up? Oh, good. I'm glad that you are. That will certainly help in the playtest. So one of our participants, Kitty Loaf, had noted some potential language improvements and refinement for forced movement. Triggering opportunity attacks and hurling things, dealing damage, which is great insight. I need to implement and update accordingly. So as you go along, if you run into any questions about stuff, that is specifically what playtesting is for, to question what is present and refine as necessary until it becomes a working piece of machinery that people will enjoy with intuitive implementation, if you want to use a word. That one is good like that. Well, that's right. We are get out of the old habits, Phil. We are working backwards on these. So let's work on these so they're backwards like that. We'll go with 3 first. And here we should be able to escalate to 4. 3 pixels here, 3 pixels here, and we'll skim those down. And then 4, and then 5 at this branch here. And thin that up a touch. So if you're understanding correctly, you need to successfully hit a creature with a strike power once to use it multiple times. You can spend multiple points of mana when you hit it. It's just like the smite spells. So when you hit a creature, you can spend mana to deal extra damage. If you have multiple attacks per round, you can sacrifice the extra attacks you have left over during your attack action to gain 3 free points of mana. So if you're at 5th, like all these martial characters at 5th level get 2 attacks as an action. So if you hit with your first attack, you can sacrifice your second attack to deal to gain 1 point of mana to spend on a strike power. It's worded that way specifically to gain mana because you have a mana cap. You can't at 5th level you can't use more than 2 mana at a time. So you could hit with an attack, spend 2 mana to deal up to a 2nd rank strike, and then with your second attack, if that also hits, you could do so again. You've spent 4 mana this round. Or if you don't feel that's necessary, you could instead choose to make 1 attack. If the attack hits, sacrifice the second attack so you gain a free point of mana. So that first attack that you made deals a first rank strike of channels a first rank strike, but you'll sacrifice your second attack and you wouldn't have spent any mana. So you can mix up, you can sacrifice action economy for free mana to use right away, or you can use your own personal mana battery and your action economy is useful and burn through your mana more quickly. And obviously as you gain levels, you get a lot more mana, and there's also recovering mana. Each class has the ability to recover mana in their own ways. So there's a lot of resources that you can throw around. Hopefully, does that make sense? Drop me a Discord note to show where the language isn't making that 100% clear, because that could mean that the language itself needs some refinement. Good, glad to hear it. And same thing with empowered maneuvers. You can sacrifice attacks during your attack action to generate free mana that you can then spend as a bonus action on maneuvers, because maneuvers can be used as actions or bonus actions, and you can use the same maneuver twice in the same round if you're willing to pay for it. Alternatively, you can sacrifice your attacks during your attack action to generate more free mana that could then be used for the maneuver. Since you already took the attack action, you only have your bonus action left, so logically you would use your bonus action to channel the maneuver. But if you sacrifice both of your attacks, that's 2 mana that you have for free. Or you can make an attack and then sacrifice your second attack to gain a free point of mana to then use during your bonus action to channel a maneuver, and it would be 1 free point that you got because you sacrificed 1 attack, and then you could use the other. You could just take a point out of your mana pool and add that, because your cap is 2. You could channel a 2nd rank strike that way. Rogues specifically can sacrifice their bonus action to generate a free point of mana for an exploit. And exploits don't specifically require their own action economy. They modify other actions. So sometimes there's a lot of ways that you can make use of an exploit after sacrificing your bonus action during attacks, or like as an object interaction, or during movement, or simply in response to rolling a die, like on a saving throw or whatever. But yeah, rogues currently are the only class that can sacrifice their bonus action to gain free mana for exploits, which seems appropriate for the rogue. The rogue also has the least opportunity to gain free mana in a general sense. They're more activity focused than combat, like out of combat focused sort of stuff. Anyway, whatever, words. And if they're willing to sacrifice their sneak attack, they have as much mana as a half caster, but they regain it on a short rest. So rogues can actually generate a lot of mana, even though they don't have as many ways to cheat in free mana. They can sacrifice their sneak attack options to basically double the amount of mana they have available to them, and still be able to use exploits to. It's just a lower intensity. So torn between paladin and rogue. You should build one of both, because if your character dies, you don't want to you don't want to be hanging out. And then you can just flip a coin as to which one you use each session. And you might find that after a couple sessions, you're done with the paladin, and maybe you want to play a barbarian instead. Who knows? I would definitely encourage y'all to switch up what you're playing from. Like whenever you take a long rest, you can swap your characters. Or if your character dies, you can just bring a new one in. So having a backup character would be a great idea. So yeah, definitely build both. If you have the bandwidth and tolerance to do so. Yeah, because again, I'm play testing the monsters using powers as well, so I could end up throwing something against you guys that ends up just really fucking y'all up, and I don't want to have to end up killing the session just because I had a misplay. I could also technically rewind and replay because it's not part of a normal campaign, but if I prefer to retain the rules of a normal campaign as much as possible. There, that feels good. I like this. This is easier. This is legitimately an easier way for me to make trees than I did before. There's a lot less double backing, and this feels more fluid. All right, so let's start out here way at the base. We have 3 pixels that we're working with right now. So here is a hitch. So we'll add 3 at the hitches here. And then here's a hitch, so we'll move to there. And we'll go to 4 pixels here. And then 5 pixels to here. And then 6 pixels to here, and 7 pixels to there. So 4 pixels, 5 pixels. Thank you, Timer. 3 pixels to here. This is all working out very nicely. We'll clean that up. Okay, so this is starting to thicken here to the point where I need to buff out this branch a little bit to, like this is 3 pixels here, and this is 4 pixels here, so that's a total of 7 pixels that we need to bulk up this branch. We actually really need to bulk it out to probably 8 or 9 to thicken it down to be able to bear all that weight. Here. Where do we go from here? Back into the branches. I think I want to bend this. Retransform, like that. And we're going to use standard array, and pretty much any race, any published race that WotC had done is going to be fine for the play testing. Text, what's up? I want that from Eberron because she's a vampire and I want her to be able to fly. Are there any powers that let you fly? There's Cloud Strider. I think Cloud Strider is the only one. It allows you to have flight as long as you land at the end of your movement. You're touching ground or a surface that can support you, and if you don't, you gain feather fall. Like full flight is typically a third level spell, or gain access like around 9th, 11th level. So having full, I mean, obviously there's creatures that have flight available to them from the jump. But if I introduce a power that anyone can take that allows flight, then everyone's going to take flight, and then it's just going to be a flying party all the time, and I have to strongly adjust the type of encounters that we're going to be facing, the structure of the campaign. Which I'm able to do. It's just there's not much of a sense of a land crawl if no one has to walk. So it could potentially have a sustained power, like a 3rd rank sustained power that would allow ongoing flight. I think I had one at one point, but I believe I trimmed it. Is that music too loud, or are we at a good balance? Good branch. Trying to play one of my mains in League of Legends, Briar, because the game is like, I mean, League is fun stuff, man. I played League for years. Once I started getting into making books, I had to stop playing League because it was eating too much of my time. But I mean, this is basically my hobby instead of League. Or I was also playing Path of Exile, and I was playing a lot of Civilization 5. I'm a big Path of Exile enthusiast. Oh, this tree's almost done already. That's fast. This is a much faster process than the other one was. I am impressed with myself, as usual. So this needs to thicken here. Which means this can thicken a little. And this too. And here, I see more text. Zoom out? Yeah. I remember back when I played League, I mained Aurelian. Oh, right on. League was crazy. Aurelian Soul's the good luck dragon, right? It's been a while. It's been years at this point since I paid attention to League's meta. Yeah. Too close. I think this branch needs to be buffed up a little bit, but hey, we're almost there. So let's get to number 4. Oh, I like that bend. That's really cool. This one looks a little bit more old and gnarly. This one seems a little bit more fluid and young. There, let's keep buffing this out. Is that? Yeah, it's too much weight over too much space, so I think I'm gonna thin that just a touch, but I'm gonna broaden this. Now I'm gonna broaden the thick of the trunk here. Get that a little bit more weight bearing. The longer limb needs to have more mass than the smaller limb. So it's just looking at the proportions and making sure that they feel like they're tapering off properly. This is the longer branch, so the bulk goes towards it. And this is a little thick compared to here, so I want to thicken that up a touch here. There we go. See, now that feels like a proper branch. I'm pleased with it. I'm going to smooth out some of the roughness along here before moving on to the next tree. Bulk it up here. I think there's some text I missed. Hold on. I'll catch up with you guys in a second. No, I wish I had the third-party book for 5e. Yeah, right on. One of our players went with the Drake Warden, a Kobold Drake Warden, but is role-playing the dragon as the main character. The Kobold's just basically a mana battery. Let me get rid of that extra limb there. Taper that off a little bit more cleanly. I don't think the Drake has flight until 7th. I'll have to pay attention to that. It's important. There. Yeah, Council of Worms was kind of a cool. It was a cool idea in 3rd edition. I don't think it quite ever clicked. It never really clicked with anyone that I played with, because it was like you're playing super powerful dragons, but you're forging weapons and armor and stuff as though you're characters. Like it was basically like giants playing dragon furries, you know, like cosplaying as dragons, but you're really just giants, which is really just people at a larger size. Which, of course, our mecha and kaiju book is resolving for our Spelljammer supplement to offer supersized weapons, creatures, foes, etc. But the level adjustment for high CR creatures is definitely a balancing act. That looks pretty good. I'll go a little bump there. And I think it was this one that needed just a little bit of love. So we'll bulk that out a bit. Text, what's up? Yeah, Battle Zoo is all over the place. When did you start working on the kaiju supplements? I appear to have not been paying attention. No, you haven't. There's a mecha, a Warforged mecha and machinery playlist that I have on my channel now. That's where it started with. Basically, we're taking the Spelljammer fightership rules, and instead of them being animals, they're people-shaped machines, which makes them mecha. And so we have scaling. We resolved the scaling for hit points, damage, reach, all the technical bits that go along with that. So I mean, the conversion is pretty simple. And then I had done the Mega Kraken example as a separate video during Kraken Week to exemplify how to make Mega Kaiju in the first place, and how the current mechanics can resolve it. But the goal for the Mecha book is for us to do playtesting in the Glory of the Giants. There's a number of sample encounters for fighting giants. Once I get the Mecha book up to a serviceable condition, I'll playtest a team of dwarven mecha pilots fighting fire giants, basically in huge size mecha, 15-foot scale, 15 feet, running around fighting giants, picking up their fire weapons and then attacking them with them if you wanted to. Most of the like virtually all the rules needed to make mecha already exists inside the Spelljammer book. This supplement is specifically just spelling them out It's like, hey, in case you missed it, here's how you can spin up and make human-shaped ships, and then here's the damage for the weapons that they would hold, and then there's power crystals that make the things go. So that's basically a mana battery that sits inside of the ship. So we have basically martial powers that are hard-coded that you can basically install into the mecha, and then use the power crystal as a mana battery, or use your own mana pool to supplement it. But every mecha has a small pool of mana that can be spent on maneuvers and stuff. What does D&D come to? I love that stuff, man. I mean, I've been using Spelljammer and Mecha and large size stuff in various editions in different ways for quite some time. The original piloting rules that I had come up with during 3rd edition and Cypher System was to not worry about actual, like, whenever a ship would be hit, the pilot would have a cumulative -1 penalty, and when they made a piloting check, like every time you got hit and took damage, it didn't destroy the ship in like a hit point supply. Instead, you would make a piloting check, and with a stacking -1 penalty, like the potential new exhaustion rules that might be in 5e24. No one has confirmed whether or not those exhaustion rules made it through the playtesting into publication or not. But basically, if you rolled below a 1 on your piloting check, you would wreck your ship. So after you've been hit 6 or 7 times, you've now got a -6 or 7 to your die roll, and so the team would spend spell slots repairing the ship, and each level of spell slot would remove 1 penalty of exhaustion from the pilot's ability to fly the ship. So the team was eating up their action economy, making sure that the pilot didn't get fucked over too hard on the die roll. And obviously the higher the level of the character, the more they would be able to take damage. Like the more they could keep the ship flying regardless of how much damage it's taken. And that was the narrative fantasy there, was your pilot is so good that they can keep this bird flying, even though it should have, like a lesser pilot, it would have wrecked a long time ago, like that trope. And that's how that trope gets easily expressed. But that mechanic didn't exist in 5e, so we adapted. But that's a super loose, simple way to be able to do like piloting in vehicles, and every time your ship takes a hit, if it's a solid hit, each solid, like some like large batteries could do 2, could penalize you by 2 per hit. But for the most part, like fighter ships and like just normal ship weapons would reduce it by 1. And again, once you rolled below a 1 on your piloting check each round, you crashed. So like you put your characters with expertise in piloting on the ship, so that you have that extra plus proficiency bonus to stay afloat. And then your bard could inspire you to roll high, not because you needed the roll. I mean, like you need the roll to keep the ship from crashing. So the inspiration would come in to basically help make sure your ship stayed afloat. So I mean, it all worked really well. It's a very, very, very simple system. But it worked great in Cypher System, and it worked really well in 3rd edition because you know your skills would stack like crazy. Like a 20th level character that specialized in piloting would have like a plus 29 to their piloting check plus the die roll. So you could take a shitload of damage with this scaling penalty thing, and at that level, a team could invest a lot of resources to deal repair work. So a ship became a pretty decent battle flotilla to be able to stay active on. But then, of course, you know, the characters themselves, like when things land on the ship and start attacking the characters directly, then they have to use their own action economy as normal third edition stuff. But again, it worked really well with Cypher system too. And the role-playing light system that I've been using at my table could implement something similar as well, honestly. Let's thicken that branch up a bit to support it, and then we'll be done with this. Yeah, I think that one's done. This seems unnaturally long, so I think I want to pull this in. I'll tilt that out again. Yeah, I've got a lot of irons in the fire right now. Also, I'll be rebuilding all of the Color Mana books to conform with the 2024 rule set. There. Yeah, good. Good tree. Save that. Blip. Let's jump over here and grab this one. Tree 3. Spell tree with an E. Thank you. That'll be canopy, and then we'll add in the next one. Trunk. So far, so good. So what? All right, back into it. Hey, what's up? Do you peeps think D&D would benefit from a double armor class system like in Palladium? Cracking someone's soul. Oh man, that's nice reference. The double armor class system. You mean like the attack roll and then the chance to parry it? Like you roll, I roll, and then whoever rolls highest is good. That's if that's what you're talking. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if that's what you're talking about, it's that's dice glut. It's and then you roll damage, and then you potentially reduce the damage with roll with the hit, right? So you have an attack, and then you have a parry, and then you have damage roll, and then you have roll with the hit. That's two people making 2 rolls each every time there's an attack, right? That's a lot. That's a lot of simulation. I am not a fan of Palladium combat in general. I love that there's different combat, like martial arts styles or combat styles that scale with the character. It's like it's almost like the skills and the profession abilities that the character gets is completely separate from the style of combat they get. It's almost like a Gestalt character where your combat style is like your fighter level, and then your actual class or like your occupation class or your racial class or both, if you use both, is like a utility or a spellcasting progression. It's a roll to hit, then roll to resist type thing. It's a lot of fun, but I do see how it slows things down. Thankfully, it's just 2 rolls. Nah. Yeah, I'm a big fan of players roll all dice, and in D&D that translates into armor class becoming a physical defense roll, along with all the normal saving throws that you would have. And if you roll high enough, you take no damage. I'm also a big fan of when again with players rolling the dice. There's a minimum amount of damage that your character will take, and then if you roll poorly, there's a larger amount of damage that your character will take. And like the rogue's uncanny dodge would basically half it further from like resistance and uncanny dodge and stuff. Basically further halves it. It's like if I would deal say 12 damage on if you roll poorly, and then only 6 damage if you rolled well. If you could then have resistance or further reduce it, you can take it down to 3 points of damage, but you're guaranteed to take 3 points of damage unless you have immunity of some sort. So it constantly whittles away at the amount of hit points. Like you can't just walk through a fight and ignore it, because you're going to take, it might not be significant damage, but you will take damage every round of combat, and that forces the characters to invest in resources to repair. And that is one of the optional rules. In the DMG, they have the optional rule of players roll all dice, and walk through that briefly, which I absolutely love, because the less dice I'm rolling as a DM, the more time I get to focus on what are you guys doing. But with this playtest, we'll be playing as much raw as possible, because we're already introducing variant rules with the power system in the first place. You don't want to stack variant rule. You don't want to stack homebrew on top of homebrew on top of homebrew, because then you start losing perspective about what's actually, like, what is the test actually teaching you about the stuff that you're experimenting with. Like, what variant rule are you actually observing when something happens? So playtesting, stay as much raw as possible. Home table, I homebrew the fuck. I mean, I'm not even really playing 5th edition at my home table right now. It's all ability checks. It's like an off Numenera system. It's like a Numenera light. No, the second higher form of armor class that for something like tanks, so that we don't end up with something like someone destroying a tank with a fun, but I do see how it's taking it down. The second high, I don't know what that means, second higher form of armor class. You are welcome to clarify if you wish, Rel. Is this in reference to Palladium still? The time delay makes it difficult for me to understand what we're talking about sometimes. I think that's a good scaffold. So okay, great. So we have the scaffold. So yeah, let's trim down the tips, and then we'll bulk it out like we just did. Where are we at on time? Oh yeah, we still have a half hour. Could potentially get this tree done. Once the text in the adventure is finalized, but we're still in transition through editing into final text format, my downtime, my off-screen time won't be, like currently the time that you don't see, like the design work that I do off-screen is mostly monkeying around with text. and clarifying and adjusting according to edits received from Stuart. And once all of that is resolved, we'll be able to move into the page layouts. But until then, once I get done with this round of text and I'm waiting for editing feedback or corrections, my evenings, the time I spend on text in the evenings will no longer be invested in text. I'll be able to continue working on visual assets. So like, if the text was already done, it should be, but it isn't. So if the text were done, like I could be doing a lot of these, like a lot of this tree activity off screen, so that when I show up the next day, I'll have made significant progress on whatever pieces that we're working on. I'm looking forward to getting back to that place. This is this first adventure that I'm creating. It's I'm still getting my bearings on like how to present all the information, like make it efficient, not pontificate too much. It's been a fun challenge. I think that's the level of challenge I'm at right now as a designer. Yeah, that's gonna end up working out. Like that. Then we put a crook in here. You can hear some finch twittering in the background outside. It's raining here. It's been raining all morning in Seattle. I think it finally broke. So the birds are all happy, grabbing up easy liquid out of flowers and stuff. I'm missing text? Yeah, palladium. The second higher form of AC for something like tanks. They don't end up with something like destroying a tank with a baseball bat. Are you talking about like mega damage? Because that's not armor class, that's hit points. Not to be an actually kind of guy, pushing my glasses up my nose. Because I don't recall there being two armor classes. There's the attack, there's the parry, but then there's also mega damage versus structural damage. Oh no, oh that's right, because there was SDC and then there was actual hit points, right? Is that what we're talking about? More layering. So much layering. It's been a while. God, it's I don't think I've played Palladium since like 2002. It's been a while. It's this, the games have, God, Palladium was so good at creating flavor, but their system was so bulky. But just the insane sort of adventures and character parties you could create, it was just, since everything actually worked together, it was always a unified system that basically let you play any style of campaign blended together with any style of characters. It was a lot of fun to just be really gonzo and like completely random encounter stuff. You got introduced after the last time you played. Oh God! Oh really? Okay. Well, I'm out of date then. So I technically have no comments on that. How could I? Palladium the GURPS rifle. Only because Palladium has so many different settings. I don't think Palladium eats GURPS lunch though. I've never been a GURPS enthusiast. It felt maybe it was just the format of the actual book itself. And I only explored GURPS second edition, so I mean bear that in mind. But the way that it used hex as a default for character movement, like that never jived with me, which I know is an optional rule. You could use grid if you wanted to, but it's just like when you have whatever your presets for your game is really flavors what that game is. Like if you play it as we intend, you're going to have characters inside of basically a 6-foot hex, but hexes never line up with buildings. So we played GURPS for a couple months, and it never stopped being annoying to me that I couldn't get a straight wall building to ever properly line up with hexes. It's like, hey, I think that and the grittiness of I think they used a bunch of D6s in second edition, and that just felt it had this sterile feeling to it, which I didn't like. It didn't feel gritty, and it felt like it was trying too hard to be uniform, and how it was creating stuff. I don't. It's been such a long time since I've played GURPS. I don't think I've played GURPS since like 96. So I'm really shaky on it. But we gave it a go and ended up not liking it. And I think it was because of the genericness of it, like it lacked any distinct flavor, but we didn't want to spend any money to buy any like specific campaign source books or anything to explore how they built things out. It just, some systems you just don't resonate with. Definitely GURPS. Okay, great. So we already have all of these things feathered down. So I guess we are, instead of me messing around at the core, I should be messing around out at the tips again. So let's mess around at the tips. Uh, 5:30 Seattle time here, which will be 8:30 East Coast today. I will be playing with AJ Pickett, Mr. Welsh, Wally DM, and Fred Willard with How to RPG. Well, we're going to play some Super Atomic Punks, which is a superhero role-playing game, a system light role-playing game. So we're gonna sling some superhero powers around for a couple hours on live stream. I'll post in my Discord a link to that. I have the link. I'll post it this afternoon. And then after that session should end, I think, like around 7:30. So I'll jump on and do more Spelljammer stuff afterwards on my own channel. I want to bring this in a touch. So we already know from the other trees that this branch is going to end up thickening because this is a really large branch compared to this one. So this is going to be driving the overall bulk of everything. But we're going to finish this one out here. We got this one coming up like this. Interesting. Let's go like that. Depending on how this ends up weighing, I'll have to bend all of this, so maybe like around like that. Let's keep at it to find out. Here. So yeah, superhero role playing at 5 o'clock, 5:30 today, Seattle time, and then by 7:30, 8 o'clock ish, we'll be doing fleet combat design for the Spelljammer vocaf battle. We'll be basically laying down the stats for each of the ships and the squadrons that they're a part of, for us to start doing a review of power balance for the battle. Okay, that feels pretty good. That also feels good. This is too thin here. See that? And that needs to bulk up too. There, yeah, not bad. This needs to thicken a little bit more though. This needs to thicken with it so it stays balanced. That feels pretty good. Good. Weirdness. I don't like how my chair keeps blipping in and out of space. I have a high back chair now as opposed to a low back. Super comfortable seat. I forget the brand and the model. But it's a good piece. Okay, so wow, this is gonna get thick. I can tell already. Oh yeah, I haven't tapered this one. You need more tapering. Hey, what's up? Yeah, right on, my guy. Well, good luck with the medicals. And I'll catch up with you soon enough, my guy. Thanks for hanging out, Hornetico. It's good to see you around again. Pixel 3, go from the joint and work up. Let it taper. Oops. Let it taper out. There we go. Yes, everyone buying their Hordenico stuff. Sponsor. Let's thicken that there. I feel like I need to crook that here. And crook all of that. Wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. Yeah, okay. There, that's good. Taper that down. That feels pretty good. Let's add in an extension here. Crook out of it. So, you're a bit confused when it comes to sustained powers. Does the total mana you must use increase when you... No. You can... a sustained power... So there's 4 ranks of power. Each rank equals 1 additional mana spent. You can sustain a total number of powers equal to your max rank. So at 5th level, we have access to 2nd rank powers, which means you can sustain together a total of 2 mana, which could be 2 1st rank powers, or it could be a single 2nd rank power. It costs you 1 mana per rank of power, and when they're sustained, they stay on until you lose consciousness, dismiss them willingly to presumably turn on a different sustained power, or you start a long rest. So those are the those are basically the 3 conditions that end a sustained power. It could be dispelled because they are magic, but they can't be countered. But so like your 5th level character could have a 2nd rank power and 2 1st rank powers. You only have 6 powers that you choose. Obviously each subclass you'll get 4 bonus powers depending on what subclass you choose. But for the powers that you prepare yourself, you have 6 currently. And so you could learn you could prepare 2 1st rank powers and a 2nd rank power, but you'd only be able to use 2 ranks of that at a time. The 2 1st rank powers or the 2nd rank power. At 9th level, when you have 3 ranks of power, you could sustain 3 1st rank powers or a 3rd rank power or a 2nd rank power and a 1st rank power. Does that make sense? But you don't have to concentrate on any of this. It's just things you turn on. currently with the current play testing, a barbarian can activate one aura as part of the action economy, a bonus action to begin rage. So when you begin rage, you can trigger a sustained power with that rage effect. It'll still cost you mana to do so, but it doesn't cost you extra action economy. But you, yeah, that's straight. I thought I had a thought, but I don't. There's no thinking here. So let's get back into here. We'll add bulk. These are great questions. Thank you. How are we doing on time? I got 6 minutes left. What's your opinion what is your opinion makes for bad RPG design and like game mechanics, but also stuff like art and book layout, if you want to talk about that? I only got a few minutes left, so I am happy to offer some initial thoughts, but you are certainly also welcome to bring the topic up again if you wish. I think just generally speaking, anything that causes conflict, you first need to understand what the goals of your role-playing game are, and do the mechanics of the game help achieve the intent. I'll potentially be talking out of pocket here, but like if you want a fast, loose narrative style of game, you don't want a lot of mechanics that require you to perform a process to get a resolution. I'm not going to be able to serve this topic properly with this. I'm trying to come up with some like quick, easy statements, but I don't have any offhand. I have thoughts about this, but it would take more time than my duration today is going to allow me to address. But that is a worthwhile topic to discuss. But it starts with understanding what you're trying to achieve, like what kind of a narrative do you want inside of your game, and what kind of a style of play do you want, and making sure everything in the rules of actually playing the game complement that goal. As far as like layouts and stuff goes, legibility is key, and having high contrast text to page space is really important. Whether it's white text on a black background or black text on a white background, what you don't want is a light gray text on a light on a darker gray background, or mid-gray text on a light gray background. So the more contrast you have in your text to the page, the easier it is for your eye to look at the page. Like it's less fatiguing, which is super important, especially if you have like a rules heavy game. Having art that complements the narrative that you're attempting to express is also super useful. Like you gotta recognize like your grit, like the level of grit you want in your game, right? If it's a high grit game, you don't want a bunch of cutesy stuff. Like D&D 5e 2024 is kind of rebranding itself with the artwork that it's going to include as the default visuals of what 5e is becoming. And I don't think I mean, some people have, but the bulk of us haven't seen the majority of art that's in the book, so we don't really know. D&D is a 5e, is like D&D is a combat simulator game. Like 70% of the rules are involved directly in combat. It is a combat simulator. How much of the artwork in Dungeons and Dragons 5e is depicting combat? And that doesn't, like casting a like, and that means like interacting with other creatures. You can't just have people posing with a magical flair. That doesn't inform the design of the game. And I will probably spend some time. I'll probably make a random video critiquing this, because I suspect it's going to be something that can be critiqued. But yeah, legibility and functionality is first, and then any visual, any aesthetics you can include that help complement that goal is just going to strengthen. It's just going to end up strengthening the book, and we're going to add in some more branch stuff here. Like Palladium's combat system lends itself towards a highly tactical game, but it doesn't really. It's very theater of the mind. It doesn't really detail. It's like it's dice heavy, but not very tactical. Like that's a clash. Like you can't really have a highly tactical combat game without having a lot of rules around tactics. It falls kind of flat. So in that sense, I would say that the revised Player's Handbook with the weapon masteries that we have coming out actually complements the theme of it being a combat simulator game, because you're now being offered built-in free use tactics that you can modify the activities that your characters are having during the round of combat. That I think that denotes a good level of self-awareness in 5e about like what is it. But then we have the artwork. Is the artwork going to be a bunch of people holding hands and smiling at each other and acting like a community? Because that's not the core narrative of what the game of D&D is. Unless you're redefining what. Like, is it no longer a combat simulator game because the bulk of rules is around combat, right? I've talked about fail states before. Like, whatever the default system of the game assumes itself, like a combat simulator game, all negotiations, all investigations, all exploration end in combat. Like, when you fail a tech, it leads to combat. Like, that is a pipeline, that is a funnel that leads your characters into using more of your character's abilities. And in the case of D&D, it's combat. Like Call of Cthulhu is all investigation for the most part. So everything that you're doing is leaning towards investigation. Like you can't fight the monsters, they'll kill you, so you have to discover a way to defeat them or survive them at minimum. All right, so that's it for today. That was my timer. I gotta bounce out of here. And hey, we're almost done with another tree. So we'll finish this up tomorrow morning. And we'll probably finish this. We'll probably be able to take care of that tree as well. Which means Monday, Tuesday, by Wednesday. Friday. And then by Wednesday, those should be done. This should be, all of this should be done by this time next week. And then we'll start in on the groundwork. So if I can if I can squirrel away some time, I'll work on these. But again, I want to off screen. I want to work on finishing up the text so we can move the whole project forward into page layouts. But we're coming along. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying where this is coming. To. So anyway, that's it for now. Hey, Rel, thanks for hanging out. Ornetico, thanks a lot for being around. Anyone else that checks this stuff out in the future, like, subscribe, bell icon, bloody blah. Happy to have you. And I'll be back. This afternoon in about 8 o'clock now. It'll be 5 o'clock. Why is math so difficult right now? 8 to 5. That's 5 hours, 9 hours. So 9.5 hours from now. Thank you, Jesus. So 9.5 hours now, we'll be back on. We'll be doing some superhero role-playing games with the team. And then I'll be back on to stream more Spelljammer stuff. So I'll see everybody then. Laters.